Allison. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. The Vatican has announced the formation of a special commission to reform the process of granting marriage annulments. The move comes just 2 weeks before the start of an extraordinary synod of bishops on the family. A Vatican statement said the commission will start as soon as possible. Its goal is to prepare a proposal of reform of the matrimonial process, simplifying its procedure and safeguarding the principle of the indissolubility of matrimony. The new body's work will address what Pope Francis has identified as a key challenge in the pastoral care of marriage. Last year, Pope Francis related the problem of annulments to the situation of divorced and civilly remarried Catholics, whose predicament, he said, exemplifies a general need for mercy in the Church today. According to Church teachings, such Catholics may not receive communion unless they obtain an annulment or abstain from sexual relations. In news now from around the world, during Pope Francis's one-day visit to Albania this past weekend, he celebrated Mass in Mother Teresa Square, spoke with dignitaries and religious leaders, but probably the most moving part of the visit was at a Vespers service, where the Pope heard the stories of survivors of Albania's communist crackdown. Rome Reports has more from St. Paul's Cathedral in Tirana.
The memory of those Christians who gave their lives during the communist persecution in Albania was very present during the meeting of Pope Francis with the Albanian priests and religious people.
I nostri martiri sono morti gridando "Viva il Papa!" e se oggi vogliamo gridare insieme.
An 84-year-old Albanian priest told Pope Francis how he faced hard labor in a concentration camp for 27 years. A nun who had to live in hiding also gave her testimony and could not contain her emotion when she greeted Pope Francis. The Pope himself set aside his written speech and spoke off the cuff. He commented on the reading from the New Testament, which spoke of the consolation that God brings to his people. For the Pope, the priest and the religious nun that shared their experiences were living examples of martyrdom. He explained how they survived religious persecution.
E noi possiamo domandargli a loro, ma come avete fatto per sopravvivere a tanta tribolazione? E ci diranno questo che abbiamo sentito in questo brano della seconda lettera ai Corinzi. Dio è Padre misericordioso e Dio di ogni consolazione. È stato Lui a consolarci.
Pope Francis also highlighted that they could overcome such hard times thanks to the prayer of many Christians. In a friendly way, he asked Christians not to look for comfort far from God.
Io non voglio bastonarvi oggi. Io non voglio diventare il boia qui, ma sappiate bene, se voi cercate consolazione in altra parte, non sarai felici.
The Pope admitted that he wasn't aware of how ferocious the communist persecution was until he had studied it carefully in the last 2 months. He also confessed that he was surprised to see how much suffering the Albanian people had endured. Before leaving St. Paul's Cathedral in Tirana, the Albanian bishops gave the Pope a cross that contained pictures of the martyrs, as well as an icon of Our Lady of Good Counsel, patroness of Albania.
In news now from around the country, Pope Francis has appointed Bishop Blaise Supich of Spokane, Washington as the 9th Archbishop of Chicago. He will replace 77-year-old Cardinal Francis George, who was first diagnosed with bladder cancer in 2006 and had a recurrence of cancer in 2012. Archbishop Supich will be installed November 18th during the Mass at Holy Name Cathedral in Chicago. Cardinal George introduced the Archbishop during a news conference held at the Pastoral Center in Chicago the day the appointment was announced. The new Archbishop has served on the board of the Chicago-based Catholic Extension since 2009. He served as secretary at the Apostolic Nunciature in Washington. On the national level, he currently chairs the U.S. Bishops' Subcommittee on Aid to the Church in Central and Eastern Europe and is former chair of the Committee for the Protection of Children and Young People. With this appointment, Archbishop Supich will go from leading about 100,000 Catholics in eastern Washington to heading up the third largest archdiocese in the nation with 2.2 million Catholics. And finally in the news, the Bishops' Conference of Scotland issued a statement in response to the recent vote for Scotland not to secede from the United Kingdom. The statement said that the vast majority of Scots engaged with the referendum, and it is their hope that all Scots can now cooperate for the benefit of the nation in the future. The September 18th vote on whether Scotland should end its 300-year union with the United Kingdom was rejected by a 55% to 45% margin, with 2 million people voting to remain with the UK, while more than 1.6 million cast ballots in favor of independence. Voter turnout was reported at nearly 85%. In the statement, the bishops also urged the Catholic community to continue to engage in public debate and decision-making, and in doing so, to uphold the meaning and importance of the Christian message. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.